Most people think they're free, not because they've proven it, but because life feels normal. You wake up, you check your phone, you grab a coffee, you head to work. The world feels busy, complicated, noisy. When you look around, everything appears to be in conflict. Coke versus Pepsi, left versus right, CNN versus Fox. It looks like competition, like chaos. But there's a quieter question most people never stop to ask. What if much of this conflict exists only on the surface? What if the institutions that appear to fight each other are financially connected behind the scenes? When you step away from the headlines and follow the money instead, something interesting begins to happen. The noise fades, and patterns start to repeat. 100 years ago, power was easy to recognize. If someone controlled industries, you could see it. Steel mills, railroads, factories. Names like Rockefeller or Carnegie weren't abstract. They were visible. Today, power works differently. It doesn't build things, it manages ownership. This shift has a name: asset management. At the center of this system are three firms economists often group together: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Most people recognize these names from retirement accounts, but very few understand their scale. Together, these firms manage tens of trillions of dollars. By sheer financial weight, they rival the world's largest economies. Yet they don't sell products. They don't employ millions of factory workers. They own pieces of the companies that do. Pick almost any major corporation: a bank, an airline, a tech company, a pharmaceutical giant. Look up its largest shareholders. The same names appear, again and again. This information isn't hidden, it's public. But most people never look, which raises a natural question. How did ownership become this concentrated without most of the world noticing? The answer begins in the 1970s. At the time, investing was expensive. Fees were high. Most people underperformed the market. Then came a simple idea. Instead of trying to beat the market, just own the entire market. This became the index fund. Rather than choosing winners, investors bought small pieces of many companies at once. It was boring, cheap, reliable, and it worked. Pension funds adopted it. Retirement accounts followed. Trillions of dollars flowed in. For individual investors, this was a breakthrough. For the system as a whole, it quietly changed everything. Here's the detail most people miss. When you invest through an index fund, you own the economic exposure. But the voting rights attached to those shares are exercised by the asset manager. Every share has a vote. Votes appoint boards. Boards choose executives. Executives shape strategy. Over time, influence accumulates. Not through intention, but through structure. Economists call this outcome common ownership. When the same large shareholders own significant stakes in competing companies, the incentives shift. Aggressive competition becomes less attractive. Stability becomes more profitable. No coordination is required. The incentives do the work on their own. Research suggests this pattern appears in multiple industries: airlines, banking, healthcare. Prices rise more easily. Competition softens. Innovation slows. Ownership is only part of the story. Modern finance also runs on complex technology. At BlackRock, that system is called Aladdin. Aladdin processes enormous volumes of financial data. It models risk. It stress tests portfolios. It simulates market behavior. Over time, its influence expanded. Other asset managers rely on it. Major institutions use it. Central banks consult it during crises. This doesn't mean one company controls the economy, but it does mean a single system plays an outsized role in how financial risk is understood. That alone raises important questions. If ownership concentration is this widespread, why doesn't it dominate public discussion? Part of the answer lies in media ownership. Major media companies have shareholders too, and once again, familiar names appear. This doesn't mean journalists receive instructions. It doesn't require coordination. Incentives shape attention. Media outlets often fight loudly over culture and politics. But deeper questions about financial structure receive far less focus. Not because they're forbidden, but because they're complex, abstract, and uncomfortable. Ownership concentration has also moved beyond stocks. In many countries, institutional investors now play a larger role in housing markets. single-family homes, rental properties, entire neighborhoods. The logic is financial. Housing is seen as a stable asset, but the effects are human. Higher prices, fewer first-time buyers, more long-term renters. When employment, savings, and housing are all influenced by overlapping financial institutions, economic power becomes more centralized. Another piece of the puzzle is personnel. Executives move into government. Regulators move into finance. This phenomenon is known as the revolving door. It doesn't require corruption to matter. Shared experience shapes decision-making. During crises, governments often rely on large asset managers for expertise, not because of conspiracy, but because scale creates dependence. The global economy didn't suddenly change. It evolved, from industrial ownership to managerial ownership to asset manager capitalism. This transition happened gradually, legally, almost invisibly. The brands look different, the logos change, but ownership increasingly converges. So the real question isn't whether the system is broken, it's what the system is designed to optimize for, and whether societies fully understand the structures shaping their economic future.